Yo, what's up? I'm Sherwin Blancad from Group 2 of Leadership and Decision Making. Today, we're going to talk about the Chapter 7, the leadership behavior. So, without further ado, let's get started. All throughout the video, we're going to tackle, firstly, studies of leadership behavior that is composes of various research about leadership. Secondly, the leadership pipeline. It is about determining the details pertaining to various organizational level. Third, the community leadership. From the word itself, it is about the community. Lastly, assessing leadership behaviors, multi-rater feedback instruments. It is about the different perceptions of leaders' behavior. First, let me introduce you by the line from the former United States Army, General Norman Schwarzkopf. The truth of the matter is that you always know the right thing to do. The hard part is doing it. Choosing what is simple results in a lot of individuals and making poor decisions when they should have known better. There are two parts of this quote. The first is knowing or not knowing what the correct course of action is. The second part is to act on what you have learned. According to this line, the first stage is the easiest for most of us. The second part tends to be the most challenging. And I suppose this is what the quotations is about of. It's simple to know what to do, but are we strong enough to carry it out? Are we willing to go extra mile to suffer the difficulties or obstacles that the correct option will entail? And we're going to find out the answer for that in the next discussions.
Studying leadership behavior. Many people in position of authority either cannot build and motivate teams or do not realize the negative impact of their behavior on the people who work for them. Excellent leadership necessitates preparation in advance to position yourself and your coworkers for success. However, it is an option to learn as you go. You can become a leader that you'd like to be by studying leadership, since it can provide you with useful frameworks, insight, and foresight. Furthermore, in order to develop your unique leadership style, you must become familiar with these three frameworks. 1. Imprint. How the people you lead experience you. 2. Function. The method by which you provide structure, direction, support, and development to your team. 3. Motivation. The desires, stimuli, and incentives that drive you to pursue a specific course of action. Let's proceed on the next question. What is leadership behavior? After knowing your approach to leadership, the characteristics and behaviors that define a person's effectiveness as a leader are referred to as leadership behaviors. Through this conduct, a person can lead, coordinate, and influence the activity of others in order to achieve particular objectives. These behaviors and approaches can be learned by leaders to improve the others of people around them. There are the kinds of action people use to inspire others to take action when they have a vision for a company, a product, or a population. Now that you understand what leadership behavior is, here are some examples of both good and bad leadership behavior. Good leadership behavior. Great leaders pay attention to what people are saying and what they are not saying. They also pay attention to what their employees need, what they are asking for, and what they provide appropriate support fairly but firmly. Bad leadership behavior. Inefficient communication, lack of concern, lack of transparency, lack of trust, expanded ego, poor delegation abilities, and inability to listen to staff. Let's proceed to figure 7.1, the building blocks of skills. The skills necessary for a leader to be efficient are addressed in each block. The top block outlines the traits, abilities, and competencies that a leader should have and consist of the following elements: initiating, structure, and consideration, employee and job-centered dimensions, the leadership grid, 360-degree feedback, competency models, leadership pipelines behaviors, community leadership behavior. The leader's own knowledge and experiences are listed in the middle block. Knowledge. It is the capacity of a person or group of people to add value to the knowledge that an organization possesses in a settings that values and encourages knowledge acquisition, retention, reuse, and collaboration. Experiences. The most worthwhile experience are those that force you to step outside of what's normal for you and take on challenges that test your limits. Naturally, different people have had different leadership experiences. Additionally, various experiences impart various lessons. Your experience level of excellence, scope, and variety are crucial. The core competencies of a leader should include intelligence, emotional intelligence, personality traits, values, motives, or goal and interests.
Now, we will talk about the early studies. Did you know that Ohio State University developed the Leader Behavior Description Questionnaire, or LBDQ? Leader Behavior Description Questionnaire provides a technique whereby a group member may describe the leadership behavior of designated leaders in a formal organizations. To obtain information about a particular leader's behavior, subordinates were in need to rate the extent to which their leader performed behaviors like the following. He makes subordinates feel at ease. He sets clear expectations about performances. He shows concern for subordinates as individuals. And lastly, he lets subordinates know when they have done an excellent job. In order to analyze the different questionnaires from subordinates, the statistical pattern of responses should indicate that the leaders can be described in terms of two independent dimensions of behaviors called consideration and initiating structure. Consideration refers to how supportive and affectionate a leader is to his subordinates. Leaders who are considerate could engage in many different behaviors that show concern and supportiveness, such as following and showing appreciation with their work, caring about their personal situations, and more. Initiating structure refers to how much effort a leader shows to meet work goals and accomplish tasks. Leaders who have a high initiating structure engage in many task-related behaviors, such as implementing performance standards, monitoring performance levels, and assigning deadlines. Furthermore, it was not only the LDBQ or Leader Behavior Description Questionnaire that were developed by the Ohio State researchers. They also developed the Supervisory Behavior Description Questionnaire or SBDQ, which refers to measuring the extent to which leaders in industrial setting exhibited consideration and initiating structure behaviors. Next is the Leadership Opinion Questionnaire or LOQ, used to indicate the leader's extent to which they believe different considerations and initiating behaviors were important to leadership success. Lastly, the LDBQ-12 is used to assess 10 other categories of leadership behaviors other than the consideration and initiating structure. The University of Michigan was able to identify the 4 categories of leadership behaviors that are effective to group performance, and these are goal emphasis, work facilitation, leader support, and interaction facilitation. So what is goal emphasis anyways? It is a behavior that refers to motivating subordinates to accomplish their task, while work facilitation behaviors refers to clarifying roles, acquiring and allocating resources, and more. Furthermore, both goal emphasis and work facilitation are job-centered dimensions. Meanwhile, leader support are behaviors where leaders are showing support to their subordinates, while interaction facilitation are behaviors where leaders always make things smooth and minimize conflicts around them. Furthermore, both leader support and interaction facilitation are employee centered dimensions. We must remember that we consider job-centered and employee-centered behaviors to be at opposite ends of a single continuum of leadership. Leaders could manifest either strong employee or job-centered behaviors, but remember, not both. The Survey of Organizations questionnaire is one that could help assessing the degree to which leaders tend to show or exhibit the four dimensions of leadership behaviors. The University of Michigan and Ohio State University had findings that suggest no universal set of leader behaviors is always associated with leadership success. According to them, leaders most likely accomplishes goals by forming trusting, respectful relationship with their team members. Lastly, these researchers have found out that leaders who tend to have a high prominent level of consideration or employee-centered behaviors are the ones who have more satisfied subordinates.
The leadership grid profiles leadership behavior on two dimensions: concern for people and concern for production. Concern reflects how a leader's underlying assumptions about people at work and the importance of the bottom line affect leadership style. Human-centered or relationship-oriented concern. Concern for people entails managers paying attention to their staff members, valuing their opinions and feelings, and building mutual trust. These supervisors foster teamwork, are approachable, communicate honestly, and have their subordinates' best interest in mind. Leaders get scores ranging from 1 to 9 on both concern for people and concern for production, depending on their responses to a leadership questionnaire. Production-related or task-oriented concern. Management must focus on directing employees toward goals in order to maximize production. This type of manager usually assigns tasks, plan ahead, stresses deadline, and gives clear work activity schedules. They merely want to complete the task. The most effective leaders are said to have high concern for people and production. Let's proceed to figure 7.2, the leadership grid. The x-axis is labeled concern for result and ranges for low to high. It provides leadership scores starting from 1 to 9 at intervals of 1, with 1 being the lowest and 9 being the highest score. The y-axis is labeled concern for people and ranges from low to high. It provides leadership scores starting from 1 to 9 at intervals of 1, with 1 being the lowest and 9 being the highest score. If a leader has a score of 1-1 per the grid, then the leader's concern for results is low, as is his or her concern for people. The leadership style followed here is impoverished management. In impoverished management, the exertion of minimum effort to get the required work done is appropriate to sustain organization management. If a leader has a score of 9-1 per the grid, then the leader's concern for results is high, but his or her concern for people is very low. The leadership style followed here is authority compliance management. In authority compliance management, efficiency in operations result from arranging the conditions of work in such a way that human elements interfere to a minimum degree. If a leader has a score of 5.5 per the grid, then the leader's concern for result is moderate, as is his or her concern for people. The leadership style followed here is middle of the road management. In middle of the road management, adequate organization performance is possible through balancing the necessity to get work out while maintaining morale of people at a satisfactory level. If a leader has a score of 1.9 per the grid, then the leader's concern for results is low, but his or her concern for people is very high. The leadership style followed here is country club management. In country club management, truthful attention is given to the needs of the people for satisfying relationships that leads to comfortable, friendly organization atmosphere and work tempo. If a leader has a score of 9.9 per the grid, then the leader's concern for result is high, as is his or her concern for people. The leadership style followed here is a team management. In team management, a leader achieves a work accomplishment from committed people and interdependence through a common stake. In organization, purpose leads to a relationship of trust and respect.
Competency models. All organizational competency models fall into one of the following categories. We have intrapersonal skills, interpersonal skills, leadership skills, and business skills. Organizational success requires behaviors and skills categorized into intrapersonal, interpersonal, leadership, and business skills. These competencies encompasses self-awareness, teamwork, leadership abilities, and business acumen, all crucial for achieving success within an organization. The Hogan and Warrenfels domain model of leadership helps connect various competency models, predicts the change difficulty in leadership skills, and highlights the necessary behaviors for team building and achieving results through others. It provides a comprehensive framework for understanding and improving leadership capabilities. Next, we have leadership competency model. Competency: analyzing problems and making decisions, thinking strategically, financial and technical savvy, planning and organizing, managing execution, inspiring aligned purpose, driving change, building the talent base, fostering teamwork, creating open communications, building relationships, customer focus. These competencies are vital for success in various roles and contribute to effective leadership and organizational performance. Competencies are essential skills: credibility, trustworthiness, and reliability, personal drive, motivation and determination, adaptability, flexibility and resilience, learning approach, willingness to acquire new skills.
What's up, guys? I'm Jamie Madamba, and in this section, we will talk about the leadership pipeline model. Let's start. First, what is the leadership pipeline model? To answer, it is a useful model for explaining where leaders need to spend their time, what they should be focusing on, and what they should be letting go, as well as the types of behaviors they need to exhibit as they move through the organizational ranks, such as first-line supervisor to functional manager to CEO. Aside from this model also describes the lessons people should learn as they occupy a particular organizational level, and the challenges they will likely face as they transition to the next level. In short, it provides a type of roadmap for people wanting to occupy the top leadership positions in any organization. And because people at different organizational levels need to exhibit different behaviors, many companies have created competency models to describe the behaviors needed to be successful at different organizational levels. For the leadership pipeline model, the most effective leaders are those who can accurately diagnose the organizational level of their job and then exhibit behaviors which are appropriate for this level. Lastly, this model gives potential explanations for why some people fail to advance. For instance, some individuals may not be focusing on the right things or maybe exhibiting leadership behaviors associated with lower organizational levels. Now, we will be discussing the table which depicts the 7 organizational levels and their competency requirements, time application, and work values. But please note that the levels in the table correspond to a large for-profit organization. Other types, like small for-profit or non-profit organizations, may not have all these levels. Still, the leadership pipeline is a useful guide for thinking about how leadership competencies change as people are promoted through organizations. First in the table, and the lowest level, is the individual contributor. This position requires someone who is technically proficient, uses company tools, and builds relationships with team members. For time application, he or she should meet personal due dates and arrive or depart on time. For work values, this person gets results through personal proficiency, has high quality work, and accepts company values. After the individual contributor is the first line supervisor. For this position, a person is expected to plan projects, delegate work, coach and provide feedback, and monitor performance. For time application, he or she must have an annual budget plan, make time available for followers, and set priorities for the team. Lastly, for work values, he or she gets results through others and believes in the success of the followers or the team in general. After the first-line supervisor is the mid-level manager. This position requires someone who is able to select, train, and manage first-line supervisors, as well as manage boundaries and deploy resources to teams. For time application, this person should monitor the performance of each team and make time to coach first-line supervisors. And for work values, this person appreciates managerial versus technical work and develops first-line supervisors. Next on the table is the functional leader. To be a competent functional leader, one must manage the whole function, communicate with and listen to everyone in the function, make sub-function trade-offs, and interact with other functions. For time application, he or she must determine the 3-year vision for the function and interact with the business unit leader's team. Lastly, for work values, he or she clarifies how the function supports the business and values all sub-functions. After the functional leader is the business unit leader. This position requires a person who is able to build a cross-functional leadership team, maintain and apply a broad understanding of financial management principles, and balance future goals with short-term business needs. For time application, this person should develop a 3-year vision for the business unit, monitor financial results, and effectively manage time. And for work values, a business unit leader values all staff functions as well as organizational culture and employee engagement. Next is the group manager. A group manager must be someone who manages the business portfolio, allocates capital to maximize business success, and develops business unit leaders. Under time application, he or she must develop strategies for multiple business units, monitor financial results for multiple businesses, as well as interact with the CEO's team. For work values, a group manager values the success of all the business units and interacts with internal and external stakeholders. The last on the table, which is also the highest level, is the CEO or the enterprise leader. For someone to be a competent CEO or enterprise leader, he or she should be able to analyze and critique strategy, manage the entire company as well as multiple constituencies, deliver predictable business results, set the company's direction, create company culture, and manage the board of directors. For time application, he or she must also manage external stakeholders and spend significant time reviewing financial results and doing strategic planning. For work values, the CEO or enterprise leader values a limited set of key long-term objectives, values advice from the board of directors, as well as inputs from a wide variety of stakeholders. According to the leadership pipeline model, many people who fail to demonstrate the competencies, work values, and time applications which are appropriate with their positions will struggle with building teams and getting results through others. For example, functional leaders who have not given up acting like first-line supervisors and spend a lot of time coaching and monitoring the performance of the individual contributors not only have no time to build a vision and manage the function, but they also disempower the first-line supervisors and mid-level managers in their functions. So, one key to having a successful career is exhibiting competencies appropriate for your current organizational level, and then letting go of these competencies and learning new ones when moving up the organizational ladder. 5 other implications of this model are worth mentioning. First, intelligence and certain personality traits have been found to improve the odds of getting promoted and successfully transitioning to new leadership levels. Second, it is critically important that organizations help people as they transition to new leadership levels. Usually, organizations offer onboarding programs to help external hires transition into new roles, which helps them learn all that they need to know about the organization and the position they will about to acquire. The problem lies with the fact that most of these organizations fail to do the same for internal candidates moving into bigger roles, which can be a big yet easily avoidable mistake. Third, people who skip organizational levels often turn out to be ineffective leaders. For example, it is not unusual for organizations to offer jobs to consultants. A consultant may have been called in to fix a particularly difficult problem. Because their solution was successful, he or she is asked to join the company. The problem is that many of these job offers are for functional or business unit leader types of roles. And to a large extent, consultants have spent their entire careers doing individual contributor level work. Because consultants may have never formally led a team or managed multiple teams or functions, they continue to exhibit individual contributor behaviors. No matter how good they are, this job may be too big of a responsibility. If they do not adjust their leadership behaviors to fit the demands of the position, they may quickly burn out and will be asked to pursue other options. Fourth, acquisitions often result in people being assigned to positions lower in the leadership pipeline. For example, CEOs from acquired companies may end up being assigned to mid-level manager roles in new companies. Although the number of people led and the budgets managed could be larger, they would need to reallocate their time and do the activities associated with this level in order to be effective. Many former CEOs and business unit leaders do not like the idea of what they call demotion. As a result, they stay with the parent company for a few years, then leave to start new companies. Last, the importance of operating at the right leadership level cannot be overemphasized. Far too many leaders operate at a level that is one or two lower than appropriate for their positions, and this has deleterious effects across their teams and the organizations they lead. For instance, if the CEO is acting like a functional leader, then he or she will spend all their time focusing on metrics, details, projects, processes, and projections within a particular function. Do little external scanning, spend no time on strategic planning and solving the big problems facing the business, and not leverage other functions to get things done. This has a ripple effect across their teams and organizations, as the only way everyone else can add value is to do work that is at one or two lower levels. Operating at lower levels may be appropriate when facing a crisis, during turnarounds, or being short staffed, but this should only last for short periods of time. Most leaders operating at too low a level do so out of preference. They either greatly enjoy it or believe they are the only ones capable of doing the job right. With this, they believe they are adding value by engaging in these activities, when in reality, they are disempowering their staffs and causing followers to look for other employment opportunities.
Components of community leadership involves building a volunteer team for community goals. Next, a unique approach to leadership without formal authority. And then we have community leaders work with limit power, resources, and rewards. Leadership competencies required to successfully drive community change efforts. This includes framing, building social capital, and mobilization. Framing is shaping issues for effective action. Building social capital is for cultivating collaborative relationships, and mobilization is rallying people for specific outcomes. Leadership competencies for community change are interlinked. Framing helps define issues for actions. Building social capital fosters collaborative relationships, and mobilization engages people to achieve specific outcomes by leveraging these competencies.
Now we will talk about assessing leadership behaviors, motivator feedback instruments. Just so you know, there's one way to assess leadership behaviors and to improve leader effectiveness. In this way, people or the subordinates could give leaders some feedback regarding with their skills that they had performed various types of leadership behaviors. This is what we call 360-degree or multi-rater feedback instrument industry. They said that it's quite difficult to overestimate the importance of it in terms of management development. The 360-degree or multi-rater feedback are tools or instruments that will show the direct reports about the leader. Peers and superiors are the one that can provide very different perception and opinion of a leader's behavior throughout the time. And with the help of these perspectives, it can show more accurate status of the leader's strengths and developmental needs than self-appraisals alone. Fun fact: because of the multi-rater feedback instruments, over 5 million managers have received feedback on their leadership skills and behaviors. For example, even if a leader thinks that he or she gets along well with their subordinates or the people around them, it's still the best thing to do is a 360-degree feedback from peers and direct reports that will indicate if the manager is difficult to work with. The manager should gain new insights on what to do to improve his or her leadership effectiveness, and even both of this. As of the moment, 360-degree tools are what most organizations use as an essential part of the trainings, coaching, succession planning, and performance management components of a comprehensive leadership talent management system. There are actually three types of 360-degree feedback tools or processes that can be used and found in organizations as of today. Competency-based 360-degree questionnaires, leadership versatility approach, and verbal 360-degree technique. The first one is the most prevalent one, competency-based 360-degree questionnaires. By using this approach, we could identify the different behaviors leaders need to have or exhibit to be effective in a particular organizational level, by building questionnaires that would greatly reflect the different behaviors. This approach would manage to create questionnaires that are for the individuals, peers, superiors, and direct reports, and later on will generate feedback reports that would reflect the rating results. The second one is another way to collect 360-degree information about leaders. Leadership versatility approach is what we can use so that peers, superiors, and direct report could provide ratings to those individuals who extend or shows too much, just the right amount, or no strategic effort at all. Leadership versatility approach requires an ability to have an assessment towards a situation accurately before applying the accurate or appropriate leadership style. This approach is used to actually identify those leaders who tends to overuse their strengths or vice versa. In this approach, it's not just the characteristics matter. Also, with the operations, enabling or forcing leadership for a particular position. For example, a leader has been promoted because of his or her strong operational and forceful skills. But with her new role, due to the promotion given, it puts greater emphasis on strategic and enabling skills. He or she needs to learn to adjust her behavior because of her new role, or else the leader would be in danger of derailing if she fails to make adjustments. The third and last approach is the verbal degree technique. This approach specifically refers to a process where 10 to 15 superiors, peers, and direct reports were asked to share their insights regards to individual strengths and improvements as a leader, either by using phone or the face-to-face interviews. Verbal 360-degree technique will provide the details and context-specific information on what are the things that leaders need to keep on doing, improving, and do more of to be more effective. This approach tends to be used more by the senior leaders, even how much time and expense would be involved in this type of 360-degree feedback. There have been some researchers that had reported that the construction of 360-degree feedback questionnaires is very important. If there's a poor conceived items can lead to a spurious or fake feedback results, thus performing at a higher level so depriving managers can get the information they need. It's very important because it's a way we could give a well-rounded perspective by getting such constructive criticism. If this can be performed well, it would give you a better understanding of your perceived weaknesses and strengths. This will not only benefit you and your self-awareness, but also to build a better relationship with your entire team. They said that leaders who will receive a 360-degree feedback, they tend to have a higher performing unit, not like those who didn't receive this type of feedback. These leaders who receive this type of feedback would have a high chance on performing better in their environment because the 360-degree systems are designed to let the leaders aware of their own individual strengths and the things that in need of development rather than making comparisons between other people. In order for a group to accomplish their goals, they must know that developing different set of leadership skills will be the main key to have a higher observer ratings. What I mean by leadership skills are the following: relationship building, critical thinking, innovation, motivating subordinates or employee, inspiring communication, and teamwork and collaboration. According to our research, they found out that it is really possible that there will be changes in terms of others' perceptions towards a leader's skills eventually. The research suggests that leaders should set a developmental goal such as taking classes or workshops, earn certifications, networking and such, and commit to a developmental plan that would make their skills improve over time. When implementing a 360-degree feedback, there are things that needed to remember, issues that are cultural, racial, or gender issues need to keep in mind. Just like in different countries, for example, in Japan, they don't believe that peers or followers should have the right to give feedback to their leader. Other countries like Saudi Arabia tend more to avoid conflict and only give feedback that are positive to their leader. There are two things that can affect the 360 feedback, and they are called the contagion effect or rater bias. The contagion effect, they said that an attitude, behavior, and emotion spreads from a person to person within a group. We can relate this phenomenon to an infection that could spread to the entire group or team. They said that emotions are contagious. So when you are hanging out with a person who is mad, despondent, or conceited, you tend to exhibit the same emotions as well. But contagion effect doesn't necessarily mean you can only adapt bad behavior or emotions to the people you're with. It can also happen with both good and bad leadership. Lastly, with rater bias, it is an error in judgment or an issue where an error occurs when there is a judgment or the evaluation to the preform bias. This issue affects the performance reviews in an organization or group. It is a substantial source of error in psychological research. As you can see in this slide, it shows that there are four things that is getting considered when doing a 360-degree feedback. And these are the following: peers, boss, self, and direct reports.
To summarize the discussions, we should remember that first, there is no uniform set of leadership practices that ensures success in all circumstances. Second, to motivate followers, form teams, and get things done with the help of others, leaders need to possess certain values and qualities. Third, leaders are able to determine the behaviors that are required for team building and accomplishing results in their jobs with the help of organizational levels and competence models. Last, leaders may gain significant insights from 360-degree feedback on how to engage followers, establish stronger teams, and achieve greater results through cooperation. And that's what the chapter 7, leadership behavior, all about. I hope you learned something from us. Thank you for watching.